our next installment of the Expanded Universe Revisited, we'll be returning to the highly acclaimed X-Wing series with entry number 8, Isard's Revenge. This book saw the return of Michael A. Stackpole to the series and recentered the focus onto Rogue Squadron. Picking up amongst the last 20 to 30 pages of The Last Command, we see the rogues face off against an old foe, thought to be dead. She has been lying in wait, biding her time for the perfect time to strike at her foes, and that has come now. Grand Admiral Thrawn has been defeated, but the Empire is still resurgent. Let's discuss Isard's Revenge. Our story opens in the final moments of the Battle of Bilbringi. We get some conversation we saw near the end of The Last Command fleshed out a little more, with some names given to titles provided in the previous book, such as Rogue 2 now being identified as Tycho Selchu. The rogues are preparing for a long, difficult fight, but the sudden assassination of Grand Admiral Thrawn at the hands of the Nori Ruck quickly shatters the Empire's resolve. The battle ends much sooner than anticipated. After the battle, Wedge Antilles meets with Admiral Akbar aboard the Home One. Akbar tells him that the time has come for him to accept promotion to general. Wedge had dodged promotion for years, going so far as to wager his promotion in the formation of Rogue Squadron, but Akbar refuses to take no for an answer this time. In order to force Wedge's hand, Akbar mentions that all of the members of Rogue Squadron are also refusing promotions, creating a situation where every member is ranked far below where they need to be. Wedge agrees contingent upon being able to remain in command of Rogue Squadron. With that out of the way, Akbar introduces Wedge to their next target, an old enemy of the squadrons, Prince Admiral Delak Krynal. Later that evening, at an end-of-war celebration for the Rogues, a man approaches Corran Horn. Corran recognizes the man as Urlor Set, a prisoner he had served with on the hidden prison Lusankia. As soon as Corran speaks to him, the man begins to convulse and dies. Later autopsy results show that the man was surgically altered with a device that would release an acidic compound into his bloodstream as soon as Corran's voice was heard. Whoever sent this has a grudge against the rogues and some connection to former Imperial leader Ysanne Isard, whom the rogues killed at Thyfera. On Seutric, Prince Admiral Krynal enters his office and is able to avoid a clumsy attempt on his life. He goes searching for the culprit, only to find a woman he thought long dead, Ysanne Isard. Though she bears the scars of her last run-in with Rogue Squadron, she is still very much alive. She informs him that she wishes to work together to eliminate Rogue Squadron and re-establish the Empire. Rogue Squadron follows some leads to the planet Commodore. They run clearance for 2 commando squads raiding the facility on the planet below. After taking the facility, Captain Page calls Wedge down to investigate. They find several former prisoners of the Lusankia still alive. After speaking with one of them, a soldier captured during the Battle of Hoth, Wedge is informed that Ysanne Isard may still be alive. Afterwards, the New Republic begins planning its initial assaults against Krynal. In the recent past, the Prince Admiral had depicted himself and his hegemony as a neutral force in the galaxy open to all who simply wished for liberation from the New Republic, casting the new galactic government as an oppressive force that was beginning to look like the Empire it had defeated. Still suffering the fleet losses of the war against Thrawn, the New Republic seeks to defeat Krynal by applying minimal pressure. The first goal will be to isolate sections of the hegemony seeking to win a war of attrition. The first target will be Lanade 3. During the attack on Lanade 3, Corran is shot down by a ground-based missile while attacking a seemingly unimportant utility structure, a dam. Based on the amount of defenses around the dam, Corran suspects that there is something more to the facility and decides to investigate. After infiltrating the facility, he finds the plans for what looks like another Death Star. Meanwhile, Corran's wife, Marix, begins working with Republic intelligence officer Aela Wasiri to track down the location of the Lusankia prisoners. Republic intelligence reviews the data recovered by Corran and finds that Krynal is attempting to construct a miniature Death Star, called a pulsar station. This station will not have the power to destroy a planet, but will be able to destroy capital ships in a single blast. A review of the Seutric hegemony produces only a few places where Krynal would have the capability of constructing a pulsar station. Further investigation shows that there is a possible hollow moon named Disna in which Krynal could be constructing the pulsar station. In order to determine whether or not the station is being constructed within the moon, Rogue Squadron is ordered to escort a survey vehicle piloted by former Rogue pilot Nurin Vakil into and out of the system. After practicing a number of simulations, Rogue Squadron departs for Disna. Meanwhile, Myrex and Ayala have tracked down the clues they found concerning the Lusankia prisoners and are ambushed while undercover. Luckily for them, Myrex's father Booster Tarek had someone following them and they are rescued. After reviewing the data they pulled during the mission, they discovered that clues were deliberately left to direct the rogues to the moon of Disna, meaning that there is most likely a trap lying in wait. They travel to Disna on Booster's private star destroyer, the Errant Venture, and find the remains of a large battle, with X-Wing and TIE Fighter wreckage scattered across the area, with no survivors. The story then jumps back to the beginning of the Disna mission. The rogues arrive in the system and do a preliminary run with the survey ship. Nothing is detected, but Vakil notes that there is a severe storm activity on the moon's surface that could be interfering with the sensors. He moves in closer, accompanied by Corrin's flight group. Suddenly, 6 squadrons of assorted TIEs fly up from the moon and engage the rogues. It does not go well. During the battle, 4 rogues are lost, 2 newer pilots, Lear Zetok and Kijin Slee, and veterans Asir Sylar and Wes Jansen. Suddenly, a second unit consisting of TIE defenders arrives, led by Colonel Broke Vaseri. Colonel Vaseri announces that they have been sent to save the rogues from the trap laid there and orders his pilots to destroy the ambushing forces. Afterwards, he offers to escort the battered rogues to a safer location. Wedge, seeing no other option, agrees. After arriving at the Imperial's base of operations, Wedge is taken to meet with their leader, Ysanne Isard. Isard explains that as the waning days of her rulership of Coruscant came to an end, she had a clone of herself commissioned. It was the clone who had led the occupation of Thyfera, while the real Isard had dispersed the Lusankia prisoners across the galaxy. She believed the clone had been killed at the climax of the Battle of Thyfera, but she had somehow survived and had gone about recollecting the Lusankia prisoners. Recently, the clone had formed an alliance of sorts with Krynl and used the prisoners to lure Rogue Squadron to Disna. The real Isard had laid a trail of evidence concerning the Pulsar station to lead them to Disna sooner, in order to take advantage of the moment and earn their trust. Isard offers Wedge a deal. Work with her to unseat Krynl and kill the clone, in exchange for being allowed to disappear in the galaxy and live her life in peace. Seeing no other option, he agrees. Meanwhile, the Errant Venture has successfully collected all the wreckage of the battle at Disna. To their delight, they find Wes Jansen still alive, as well as Asir Sylar, though this fact is kept hidden. While the rogues begin running through situations for their upcoming move against Krynl, the astromech droids Whistler and Gate are able to sneak away from the holding facility and leave the planet. They contact Talon Card and negotiate transport to the Errant Venture, revealing to Booster, Myrex, and Ayala that the rogues are still alive. As the date of their strike nears, Wedge sends a message to General Kraken detailing the plan laid out by their new temporary allies. Rogue Squadron will be inserted into Sutric, much as it was during the taking of Coruscant, and prepare to bring down the planet's defenses. He requests that Akbar bring a fleet sizable enough to defeat the Sutric defense force. Akbar and Kraken show the recording of the Advisory Council, but alter it to move the attack time back 2 hours, suspecting that a spy will leak the planned attack to Krynl. The Advisory Council agrees to join the attack, and Akbar begins the process of preparing his forces. Rogue Squadron is inserted into Sutric under cover as an Imperial squadron named Requiem, hoping to join with Krynl's hegemony. Unbeknownst to the rogues, Isard has betrayed them, letting Krynl know that the New Republic is preparing to attack him, thereby causing him to hold more forces at Sutric. She readies her own men to prepare for an attack on Coruscant. When the time comes, the pieces begin moving. Akbar's fleet, consisting of Home 1, the Emancipator, and several supporting vessels, arrives at Sutric 4. The fleet would have been more than sufficient to handle the 2 Star Destroyers and the interdictor that were expected to be there, but due to Isard's intelligence, Krynl had relocated a Victory-class Star Destroyer in to supplement his forces. The extra ship tips the balance in Krynl's favor. Akbar, realizing he is outgunned, orders a structured withdrawal while Krynl orders his forces to attack. The Battle of Sutric has begun. On the planet, Rogue Squadron takes out the prison's ground defenses to make way for Isard's commando squad. When the squad does not show up, Corrin lands his flight and enters the prison on foot. They find the Lusankia prisoners, General Jan Dodonna among them, but become pinned down by the stormtroopers stationed there. In space, the battle is going decidedly against the New Republic. Several of the escort frigates and corvettes have been damaged, and Akbar is reaching the point where the rest of the fleet can flee. Krynl, recognizing that the opportunity to defeat Akbar and crush one of the more prestigious ships in the New Republic fleet is at hand, orders his interdictor binder to power up its gravity well projectors. Akbar, having learned a valuable lesson from his bouts with Thrawn, engages the Thrawn pincer. Outside the system, General Garmbel Iblis orders his two Victory-class Star Destroyers to jump into the system. Due to the gravity well being produced by Binder, the ships are pulled out of hyperspace at the precise location needed to pour its firepower into the unshielded back sections of Krynol's flagship. The bridge is devastated immediately, sending a wave of shrapnel across the command deck and killing Krynol immediately. With their leader dead, the rest of his forces quickly surrender. Back on the planet, New Republic commandos arrive to save Corran and his team. The prisoners are finally rescued. In the sky above the planet, Wedge falls into a dogfight with Isard's shuttle. During the maneuvering, Wedge recognizes the flying tendencies as belonging to a pilot that works for Krynol, meaning that Isard's clone is doing the same thing that Isard did at Thyfera. He traces the transmission of her conversation with him to a nearby station, destroys the shuttle, and then the station, killing Isard's clone. And meanwhile, at Belbringi, the actual Isard and her team arrive and set their sights on the rebuilt Lusanka. Her team infiltrates the ship and moves to take control, only to find that Booster, Marix, and Ayala are waiting for her, having anticipated that she would attempt to reclaim her ship. Isard's men are quickly dealt with, leaving Ayala to confront Isard. Hoping to distract her, Isard begins detailing how quickly her deceased husband, Derek, had broken when he was imprisoned on the Lusankia. Ayala, not taking the bait, explains that Isard will be brought before a military court, found guilty, and imprisoned on Lusankia for the rest of her life, being seen to by droids and never experiencing human contact ever again. Isard, in a rage, lashes out at Ayala and is killed, ending the threat of Ysanne Isard once and for all. At the end of the book, Asir Sylar speaks with Ayala before boarding a shuttle. Ayala urges her to reconsider her decision to allow everyone to assume her dead. Asir explains that she wants to unseat the toxic culture of the Bothan people and can best do that undercover. She knows it will hurt Gavin to grieve for her, but is certain he will move on and find love. She departs. This is a fun book, just as all the X-Wing series is. For fans of the X-Wing comics, it's a great return of a villain that has past interactions with the Squadron, as well as seeing the return of one of its former pilots. Bringing back Isard, along with a clone of Isard, could be seen as a bit of a stretch, but if you're going to bring back an old enemy, Isard is a good choice to do so. We once again encounter the uneven handling of clones caused by the stories being written in different eras of the lore development. In the Thrawn trilogy, we are told that clones go crazy because of the force bond between the clone and the original, which is why Thrawn grew his clones under the force-negating bubble of the Ysalamiri. Here, we have Isard's clone not suffering from any adverse mental diminishment. Once again, it's not a problem with the book itself, but with reading the EU in continuity. The story is tight and fast-paced, possibly too fast-paced. The rogues move from one operation to the next with clues directing them from one place to another. The narrative unfolds neatly and resolves quickly. I would have liked another 100 pages or so to let the story breathe a little. Despite all of this, the book is still an enjoyable read, and it's a welcome return to the characters of Rogue Squadron. Next time we'll enter the second half of the Resurgent Empire Era, as a threat from the deep core makes itself known. We've now gone through all but 2 of the X-Wing novels. Which one is your favorite? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching.